The Phantom Serial Killer. Glasgow's elegant George Square is today as calm and peaceful as any such place in the middle of a bustling city can be. Office workers spend the summer lunchtimes relaxing on its lawns, while tourists photograph the marble statues, and children feed breadcrumbs to the pigeons. But just over a century ago, George Square was a very different place. For the house at number 30, now an office block, was the home of a deadly serial killer. Even now, no one is sure exactly what caused the deaths that shocked Victorian Scotland. For few who saw the killer lived to tell the tale. Those who survived generally became incoherent with sheer terror. For the murderer was not human. The house was already the talk of the town when Sir Robert Winston accepted a foolhardy challenge at his club at the Berkeley. The handsome adventurer scoffed when friends discussed the possible causes of the disasters at number 30, and vowed to spend a night there to prove that talk of supernatural happenings was nonsense. The owner of the house, a man called Barton, was reluctant to allow the experiment, but Sir Robert would not be dissuaded. He agreed, under pressure, to take a gun with him, and Barton insisted that Sir Robert's friends and himself stand guard on the floor below the bedroom where he would spend the night. If anything strange happened, the young aristocrat was to pull a cord which rang a bell in a room on the first floor. Sir Robert retired at 11:15 p.m. after a good dinner, but 45 minutes later the bell began to jangle. As the rescue party raced upstairs, they heard a shot. They burst into the room to find Sir Robert slumped across the bed, his head dangling over the side. He was dead, but not from a bullet wound. His eyes bulged in terror, his lips were curled hideously above clenched teeth. He had died of fright. Intrigued by this and other stories about the deadly house in George Square, Lord Lewisham resolved to investigate the mystery and arranged to spend a night in the room where Sir Robert had died. He took along 2 guns, one filled with shot, the other with small silver pieces, reputed to ward off evil spirits. During the night he fired the barrel of coins at a shape that leapt at him, but he lived to tell the tale. In 1879, he published the full details of the ordeal in his book, Notes and Queries. He concluded that the room was supernaturally fatal to body and mind. Lewisham's researches included the discovery that a girl who had stayed at the house as a guest had been driven mad by terror. A lawyer who had slept one night in the haunted room had been found dead next morning, and the maid of a family renting the place had died in hospital after being found crumpled on the floor whimpering, "Don't let it near me." Not surprisingly, few people were anxious to move into the house. For years it stood empty, its paintwork peeling, its secret undisturbed. Then, in December 1887, the naval frigate Penelope docked in Glasgow, and its crew headed home for Christmas. 2 sailors, Edward Spencer and Freddie Clark, spent Christmas Eve in the city. After drinking for most of the day, they found themselves with very little money and no lodgings for the night. They wandered the streets for a while before finding themselves in George Square. They soon discovered the "To Let" signs outside number 30. There was no doubt that the house was vacant, and the men decided to spend the night there. They wandered through the neglected rooms, arriving at last in a second-floor bedroom which seemed in better order than the others. Freddie Clark was soon asleep, but his shipmate was nervous. As he tossed and turned, he heard footsteps walking along the corridor outside their door. He woke Clark, and the two watched terrified as the door slowly opened and something large, dark and shapeless entered the room. Spencer darted toward the fireplace to try to grab something he could use as a weapon. As the intruder went after the terrified sailor, Clark seized the chance to escape through the open door. He raced down the stairs and ran for help. In the nearby Merchant City area, he blurted out his story to a police constable, and the two men hurried back to the house. They were too late. The shattered body of Edward Spencer, his face fixed in a grimace of unimaginable terror, was sprawled on the basement steps. He had been thrown there from the second floor. It was almost 50 years before the house was lived in again, and no other incidents have been reported since. Has the murderous phantom left for good, or is it just biding its time, waiting for its next victim?